Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brian Wynn, and for some reason I always start this. Edward Burns right here, and this is Critical Failure. You know what, fuck it. You started it off. I want to see how you do it.
I mean, you already started it.
Nah, you can go ahead.
But today we're going to be talking about characters and the process that we go through when we make characters. Personally, for me, it really depends on the stats I roll. That affects mostly what I'm going to be able to build. Because I could envision a character in a certain way, but my stats do not support the vision for that particular character. So then I have to rebuild the whole character to fit what I have. If I have really, really low stats, generally I'll make a fighter, because in the long run I'll try to use the ability improvements that they get, because they get so many, to help overcome the low stats as they grow more powerful. But I also think about the class themes. Normally I'm trying to think of what type of concept I'm going for. So normally it's stats. Stats are first, and then what class, and then what race I think will help pull off my theme the most for the particular thing.
See, for me, I usually come up with the basically kind of the same, it's interchangeable. I go more or less based off of race and class first, because I can build my character off of stats. I typically roll medium anyways, very mixed reviews and our stuff, so I kind of based off of that already, how it's going to have shit rolls in this way, but really decent rolls at other ways. So I kind of base all of my characters on just being flat medium in the first place, because I don't really have a lot of OP characters.
Yeah, but normally when I'm just thinking, theory crafting characters, it's normally just race and class combo. But depending on what I roll, then I'm just this would not fit this particular character, so I'll just make something to adapt to what I rolled in terms of stats.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that way. I know what I like to do is I come up with this really cool theory behind it. My Viking character that I made that was going to be a son of Tyr. I came up to you and I was coming up with this really ornate ability, basically, where it was the Asimir's path of where it would, I forgot what the ability is called, but it basically had this aura of radiant energy that did extremely high power level damage that basically took permanent exhaustion points to my character, and he only had 3 uses, and he had 1 used as a backstory thing. And I remember coming up with that, and you're that's a cool ability, but let's scale it back for legitimate uses. And I was trying to argue with you, saying hey, look, this is only used in certain places.
You wanted it to be oh, it will basically kill whatever I'm fighting at that time, and I was yeah, no.
Yeah, and it made a lot of sense that way. But my character concept was he was going to die at the end of his 3rd usage, and it was for the big bad evil guy. And that's how I kind of wanted to railroad it. And you were nah, because I feel it's going to be used in less needful manners. And I understood that, because
I just didn't want to take away from the overall narrative, and then take away from also the players, because they're just this fuckboy over here can just obliterate things.
Yeah, and they wouldn't notice that, probably, that it takes or at least their characters wouldn't notice how my character had extreme difficulties after using it, because he gained X amount of exhaustion points after using it. He didn't have any in the beginning, but once he used the second one, he got 2 permanent exhaustion points that couldn't be removed after that.
Yeah, but that would also really ruin your character and make it very hard to play.
Yeah, and that was a big thing towards it, is that he ended up degrading over the time, and on his last usage it actually killed him. I was thinking of some anime bullshit, basically.
Yeah, I remember it being disintegration.
Yeah, you basically disintegrated.
You were starting off with a hand because Tyr is missing a hand, so that's what you wanted to do.
And I thought that'd be really cool. And that's basically how I am. I come up with all these ornate theories behind my character, and I always try to base them off that, and I try to live in the character, hence why I try to immerse myself in these games. I'm always trying to make this character like Lucarius. I remember creating on the fly, I'm just I had no idea where I was coming up with it. I knew I really wanted to play another Blood Hunter. I wanted to play a Tiefling, and we thought it would be a cool idea to play the spawn of Zariel, so I was alright, and I'm trying to still go there. And my idea was I know Zariel's my mom. You thought it'd be a really nice narrative to not have it as she be my mom.
Yeah, well, not that. You would not know.
That's what I meant. And I learned, hey, this is a really cool way to bring it through, because what happens if I do find out, this shield, I don't know what the fuck is involved with it so far still, even out out of character, I don't know. All I know is that there's an intelligent being inside this thing, and it wants to return whatever the fuck its place back.
Eltriel.
Eltriel. Yeah, it wants to return that back, and that's all I know. Or at least something dealing with Eltriel. My character, his entire point right now is to go to the Nine Hells to get Eltriel back. And he doesn't even fucking give a shit about Eltriel. He just wants to do whatever this thing does. Because this thing is really cool and makes it more powerful.
Okay, weird character motivation.
Yeah. It's doing
Suddenly,
that.
like, oh, I have powerful shiny object. I listen and obey.
Yeah, and my character doesn't know that it's evil, but my character is a chaotic neutral character, and he does basically whatever. And he's in the Blood Hunter organization, and he's just more or less just trying to take on this faction while within the Flaming Fist and help them out while being able to do what he wants, which is coincides with defeating the cultists in this one area, which I would assume that he was already ordered within his own Blood Hunter group to do in the background of everything. I thought that'd be really cool for you to kind of sneak in like orders like, hey, you need to do this, and my character tries to go do it while steering the group that way too.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Because my character currently is more of like a back pedaled character. Like, I'm more or less in the back. I'm DPS right now. I'm not really making a big fuss.
Yeah, your character's not like prominent. Like, it's more background. And the other two are much more sociable characters in the group.
And I made my character that way. Like, even though he has decent stats in charisma, intelligence, wisdom.
Which also leads to us just joking that you're just a creepy blood dude.
Blood dude, yeah.
Who's really, really into blood.
But the funny thing is that my character has decent stats. He's just, because of his background in dealing with stuff like that, he does not socialize. Like, if people were to come out to know that he was into hemo magic, that probably being a very frowned upon thing, like just like necrotic dealing magic, like that'd probably be a very bad thing if people found out. So he's just like trying to keep it to himself, even though he uses his abilities openly in front of these guys. He feels safe doing that. He wouldn't do that openly in front of other people. Like if he were to use one of his abilities that required him to hurt himself, or in my narrative, hurt myself to help sway things, like he'd do it secretively and in a way to where it wouldn't give off the vibe of him doing that. So that's a character nuance that you should be definitely trying to think about while creating your character. How would he react in this scenario before you create him? Like, what I like doing when no one's around is I come up with scenarios in my head through my character and I act them out, which sounds really fucking retarded. But I like doing that. Like, it is something that I do, and it's embarrassing and it's vulnerable to say it, but I like role-playing. I remember when Wesley and I, back in high school, he did not want me saying this at all, but we've had a couple conversations about it. Basically, we would make Naruto characters, and then we'd play Naruto between us. It's fully grown fucking teenagers. Like, not fucking 14, like 16, 17-year-olds doing this shit.
I mean, it sounds like fun.
It is fun as shit. And we're basically role-playing it, and like, it was really fucking fun. And it's like, I loved it. He enjoyed doing it. And that's what I like doing. I like acting as my character. Like on the way here, I was like voice acting how Lucarius would do things with, if he were to side with his mother or take over his mother in like a former video I was talking about. And not taking over, but taking over the position.
Overthrowing her,
yeah.
Like taking over her role.
And I was acting through that, like how my character would react. And like that's some things that I like to do while creating a character is to envision it.
Yeah. Me personally, I don't really dive too much into my backstory for my characters, mainly because it doesn't really pop up.
Yeah,
like
we don't pop up with backgrounds. Like, Wesley is irritated that we don't come up with backstories.
And personally, I really like developing the backstory as we play, because then because I don't really know how the game's going to go when we first start playing. And then as I slowly evolve it to fit the narrative or whatever of my character and show more growth. And then, like, for the most part, you guys are not going to know anything about my character because we don't really know each other 9 times out of 10 at the start of the game.
Yeah, I think you and I were the only ones that really tried making a backstory for my character, because I was going to start off without one. And besides knowing that Zeryl's my mom, that was all that we had. And you and I talked about my dad being a soldier, meeting Zerial because he was a very good warrior.
Yeah, because you came up to me with the base concept, and then me and you were working on how to incorporate it and how to make it fit a bit better. For the most part, people just show up and we just start playing.
Yeah, and like one of my big fears is I'll come up with this really cool concept that everyone at the party or in the group likes, and then it turns into a one shot. Like I don't like one shots. I don't like running one shots.
Yeah, I really don't like it because I always look forward to playing more.
A second one.
Yeah.
And it just turns into like sadness because I've ran multiple one shots and they all end terribly because I know I don't like them, and so I just either purposely make them bad between groups or that or between Ed and myself, or I'm just like not feeling it after like 20 minutes. I'm just like, damn, this really fucking sucks, and I'm just like steering into a way to go downhill.
Yeah, that's also things like confidence.
My phone is going off. I'm not answering it. There's a cat. But anyway. Stats wise, it's kind of weird because I don't necessarily make stats everything involved about it.
I mean, they're pretty important, like to me at least, because I hate when I roll stats for my character and all of them are complete garbage, and then I'm just like, well, I'm screwed. So then I always make a fighter in that regard because that's the only way I can bring it up to be reasonable, like in the long term. Because I've had a character where, like, the highest stat I had was, like, a 10, and everything else was, like, below 10. And he was just really bad at everything. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not really having fun because I can't do anything.
I understand the need of stats. I'm just, like I said, I typically roll in the medium, so I'm not necessarily always...
I normally roll either good or just
really
absolutely garbage.
I remember when you were rolling...
Which sucks, because I also don't really play as much as everyone else in the group.
Yeah, you DM mostly. Like, when I was helping my brother roll, I should say, he rolled, like, one nat 20, and then had really high stats. Like, he had an 18 and a 19, so he's playing a wood elf. So I put the two stats that were really high into the thing, so he gets 3 natural 20s, and then everything else is, like, really decent.
Yeah.
And he's playing a fighter barbarian.
Normally for me, most times when I build a character, all I really need is like 2 or 3 good stats to actually pull off the theme.
Yeah, and the way we roll stats is different than most people. We do 2d20s, basically rolling with advantage with our characters.
Yeah, which that normally always works way better for me. Whenever we do like 46 drop the lowest, I normally just roll awful. I roll like lots of ones.
I typically roll decently on that. I also wanted to try and do one to where it was D4s instead of D6s, because the D4s always roll really great. The highest you can get is a 12, and I always end up fucking that up for some reason because I always think it's 44 drop the lowest, and I don't know why, but it's just an accident. But I thought that'd be a really cool thing. But you had this idea for a Dark Souls basic campaign where we're going to start off at like level 0 and build our way up from commoner.
Well, not just Dark Souls, but I thought it'd be cool
or
to
a
have,
horror campaign.
Yeah, start off you guys as like villagers, level 0. I even found like a decent like level 0 like class thing, and it had like 3 stages to that before you actually level up to like the first level, and I thought that was really cool. And yeah, it was gonna be, I wanted you guys to be young in the start of the game, and then slowly you grow, and then you learn your class or whatever, like the features, and it'll probably be like bits of time jump, but it was supposed to be Mizran, and Mizran, just from like the general of what we kind of envision, is a very harsh place to live in, and a lot of horrible things tend to happen.
Very actively.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all that I know about it, and we talk about our campaigns together like very frequently, even while we're playing games. And this is the first time where I've kept a lot of Curse of Strahd away from you, and I'm trying to make it secretive. And I'm enjoying building that world from the ground up as best as I can.
I just want to play.
I do too. I want
because that it's been building up for so long now.
Yeah, and I have nothing after Curse of Strahd so far. Like, I have not thought about it.
I mean, that's fine. Curse of Strahd will take a while to get through.
And I'm wanting to continue with Descent to Avernus. So we're both looking forward to games, and we've both discussed, 1 week we do Descent, another week we do Curse of Strahd, and that way we can do that.
Personally, though, I don't really like running an adventure from a book. I just like doing it, naturally unfolding. Just because I don't like having to look back to see if I'm fitting to
the narrative.
Yeah.
It is really
or if I'm missing something. And generally when we started, it was just, we're starting right now. I didn't really have a heads up on running that adventure, and I was so I was mainly reading the book most of the time, flipping through, and I didn't really like that. I do think it's cool that there is a lot of little features that are further in the book about how to help build characters to fit in the setting more. Like there's a background for Baldur's Gate and stuff like that, and it tells you about the laws and.
Definitely take into account the adventure that you're running.
It even tells you how like some of the NPCs could know you, like the Captain Zodge. It tells you that there's a couple ways that he can know one or two of the party members. Like he can know like a crime you committed or something in the past. I was like, these are pretty cool tables.
Yeah, definitely include how you're going to be, like, if you know anything about the campaign, definitely include that.
I also like looking through Xanathar's guide because there's a whole bunch of like charts and stuff you can roll to help flesh out your character's like backstory and like events that have happened to your character, and some of them increase like your gold or something, or like you can have advantage on the next saving throw against poison, or like disadvantage against something. And I just think it's pretty cool features, and I hope to see more of that type of stuff.
Yeah, like the Caldori setting had a couple of features that were pretty cool.
Yeah, and I like Ravnica because you can take those factions from the guilds and you can just simply twist them to kind of fit whatever guild exists in the other world.
That's one thing that I was doing in the Eberron setting.
Yeah, I like taking a lot of inspiration from that. I haven't really run that setting. None of us have. I think Wesley was kind of interested because I told him a little bit about it, but it has so much information you can take and use for your own games, for your characters, or a great way to use for organization inspiration.
Yeah. Damn. Trying to think of what else. Imagine how your character is going to react to other characters that are against it or for it also. That's a very big idea.
Yeah, like tieflings are generally supposed to be kind of like feared.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really pop up too often. Every now and then, like, if you play a certain race, I'll have characters not like you because they wouldn't like that race. Like when you were the Drow, it was really hard for you with like social encounters because a lot of people were standoffish against you because of that.
Yeah.
But then like you slowly develop.
Rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good thing.
Which is something I don't really see happen too often in other people's games. Normally it's like, it doesn't matter, whatever you are. And I'm just like...
Nah, like, because, like, we enjoy, and this sounds weird, but, like, we enjoy making the monster classes, basically, have hard times because it's like, you're not going to see them often. There's not many of them that are actually good. So it's like, there is going to be racism within the D&D campaign.
And that's, like, something people don't really take into account. Well, not take into account. That's something a lot of people don't. Yeah, they don't want to touch it.
It's like a social issue.
But we don't really have a problem with it because we know this is just a game. It's not a really big issue. None of us are going to take much offense to it. And it just helps make the experience better overall and improve, like, roleplay.
Yeah.
Because not everyone's going to get along with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that issue to where, because when I was playing with the Drow, I know that Eldritch didn't like me for a very long time.
Yeah. He didn't like elves, and Drow was just kind of worse because he was a dwarf. It's not like he had an outright disdain for elves. It was just kind of like
he just didn't trust them.
Yeah, but he was a very like reasonable character for the most part. And he didn't like you because you poisoned a child.
I did poison a child, but I poisoned a child to make him a blood hunter.
Yeah,
I was proud of that moment until he almost died. But anyway, those are some tips on helping you make your character. I'll let you do the sign-off, Ed.
Oh, this is Critical Failure. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave a comment down below what you'd like to see more, or if just your overall input on the video. I'm Edward Burns.
I'm Brandon Wynn.
And we'll see you next time.